Hey everybody, it's the Purple Podcast. I'm Ashton.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Alex.
I'm Shane.
And today it's going to be a little bit casual. We're going to talk to Alex about being a new student here. You're a senior, right?
Yes.
I got that right. Okay, cool. So being in a new school as a senior. And then we're probably just going to talk about other random stuff like homecoming, which is, as we're recording it this week, but will be released the week after. So, does anybody want to start?
So we just kind of had this idea to talk to you, Alex, about what it's like to be a new student as a senior, because Ashton and I have been to Basalt schools since we were both in kindergarten, and Shane was fairly new, but he didn't go to Basalt schools until high school.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to talk to you about what it's kind of like to be transferring as a senior.
I've changed schools a bunch throughout my entire life, so it was pretty normal for me, actually. It's a little scary at being my senior year because it's always kind of hard to make new friends, but I found everyone really nice here, and I found it pretty easy to fit in, I guess. I've changed high schools about 4 times now.
Jeez.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Are
Yeah.
those on the year marks? Like, did you...
My freshman and part of my sophomore year, I was in Texas City, and then I moved and I went to a different school for my sophomore and junior year, and then last year was my technically my senior year, and I moved back to Texas City, and then I went to even another school for the rest of my senior year, but I ended up not graduating on time because it put me way behind.
Gotcha.
So I'm a super senior.
That's okay.
But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any frame of reference because I've never been to another school system. But like, how did the sizes compare? I've always talked to friends and stuff about big schools, and they're like, "Oh, it's crazy." And so
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Being from Texas, even our small schools were pretty big compared to this one. Like the smallest school I went to in Texas was probably 600.
Gotcha.
And then the school I came from right before this was 600 in each grade. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So like 2,400 kids in the whole school?
Yep. It was ginormous. It was in the town I grew up in. I didn't move till about 7th grade. So from kindergarten to 7th, I went to that. I lived in that area. So I knew a lot of the kids, but it was still impossible to know everybody.
Yeah, that sounds insane.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because our school's never really gone above 400, about 450.
Maybe sometimes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we've had a pretty small school system here. Like, our elementary school's pretty huge.
Yeah, our elementary school's always pretty big.
But, I mean, like, that school, they just renovated it, too, so it's also got, like, 2 floors and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that's the biggest school in our school
Yeah.
Really?
out of all the Basalt schools.
Well, I didn't know that. Back at my California, where I was growing up, beginning, our elementary school was 7,000, and elementary school, and
Wait,
it had
elementary school. In elementary school there, is
1
it
through 5.
1 through 5, so it includes 5.
Yeah.
Or,
Okay.
It's 1 through 5, and then it's 6 through 8, and it had the main place, and then there was like the staircase that go down that was 4 and 5, and there was like 6 buildings for that, and there was 2 playgrounds and 2 baseball fields on the place.
Yeah, because our elementary school is only K through 4, and then it's like 5 through 8, and then high school is 9 through 12.
Yeah.
So I know that if, like, you talk to your parents, they're like, oh, well, back in my day, we had junior high. And they're like, well, we have middle school,
Yeah.
but we don't necessarily have junior high.
Yeah.
And, like, they switched the buildings around. The high school used to be the middle school, right? And
it's always been weird like that.
It was kind of strange.
Yeah. Our schools expanded building to building, or location to location.
Yeah.
So all of the original stuff used to be on the elementary school property.
Yeah, the
And
only.
then they built the middle school,
Mhm.
and then they had to come up here and build this one, which this one is slightly larger than the middle school.
Yeah, because they just added on that new wing a few years ago. But, like, we've never actually had, like, separate buildings for classes. The only time I remember that was when they were renovating the elementary school, and we had to go out into trailers to go.
They had a bunch of, so in the field, there's this big field, there's 2 baseball fields and then the playground. In this field, they came in and they parked a bunch of, like, office trailers, you know, that
Yeah.
you see at construction sites.
Mhm.
They just parked a bunch of them, rows and rows.
Mhm.
And then there were a bunch of, I think it was 3rd and 4th grade classes in there,
Yeah.
which
I-
was kind of interesting.
I was never in one of those trailers, but I think I was in middle school by the time I did those. But,
We were in 3rd
Third grade?
grade, but it was weird.
yeah, I don't ever remember going in the trailers. I just remember they were there, and, like, some of my friends had to go out to the trailers. But, like, now at the middle school, they have a separate building that teachers go to sometimes right near the bus barn. But that's about it. Like, our schools are pretty tiny with that. Like, we don't have those extra buildings like a lot of places do.
Yeah. I'm guessing for Texas for you, like every school in California and I'm guessing Texas, that they all outside. Like here it's like enclosed, like the hallways are enclosed and all the classes are in like one giant building. California, Texas, I think, right?
Actually, all the schools I went to in Texas were very enclosed. We had the school I came from, since there were so many kids, there were also an elementary school and a junior high school that were kind of connected, and it was like a big triangle. And then we had a giant center where it was like the yard or whatever, I forget what it's called. But they were all very enclosed because we get crazy weather down there. We get hurricanes all the time. Like I lost my house in Hurricane Ike. So,
Jeez.
yeah.
Let's talk about what happened then.
Yeah, that's something to talk about.
Well, it was in 2008, so I was in 6th grade at the time, and it happened in about November, and that's when I started moving, because we lost our house. It wasn't completely, like, demolished, but we were in Austin at the time. I lived in South Houston by the water, and we were in Austin, and we saw on the news that, like, there was a Dairy Queen down the road from our house, and it was completely submerged. So we just knew our house was going to be gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it wasn't, like, difficult. Like, once we headed back, you weren't allowed to go back for a few days because they had to check for bodies and just in case something, and clear the roads a bit so people can get in and start cleaning up the mess.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, I didn't get upset. Like, I rode my bike. I wasn't allowed the house. My parents wouldn't let me in because they were having to move stuff. So I rode my bike around the neighborhood, and everybody was just having to rip out carpets, pack their cars with what was left, and most of their stuff had completely been destroyed, and everybody was putting everything out by the trash, furniture, clothes, like,
Wow.
it was hard because we lost photos and all that. But then it wasn't hard for me until, like, I got into my living room, and I just realized, like, I wouldn't be able to make any more memories here. And,
Because you were moving at the time, right? But
Mhm.
but that came through, like I guess not.
well,
very
no, like, it came
conveniently, or-
through, and that's why I had to move.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. We lived in an apartment for a while because we were renting out our house. So we were supposed to get money from FEMA, but they decided to not give money to anybody who was renting. Like, the people who were renting out the house couldn't get money, and the people who were renting it, like, living there, couldn't get the money. They're
Wow,
only
that's
giving
kinda-
it to you if you own the house.
It's kind of cheap.
Yeah. And, but yeah, so that was really hard. And I started moving around a bunch because of that. It was life-changing, definitely. But, and we get hurricanes there all the time.
Gotcha.
And when Rita, it was right after Hurricane Katrina in that same year.
Oh yeah.
I think it was the same year.
So
We had to evacuate for that.
2006?
Yeah, 2006.
Yeah.
We had to evacuate for that, and it took us 3 days to get about 30 minutes from our house because of traffic. Everybody was trying to leave all at once.
Holy cow.
And you were just completely stopped the entire way, and we only got 30 minutes. But luckily, we didn't get hardly anything but rain, and like some power cords went out. But it went back and hit Louisiana. Rita hit Louisiana
So
right
were
after
people
Katrina.
like sleeping in their cars in that line to get out?
Yeah, definitely.
What about food and stuff like?
We
that's-
had to eat MREs.
MREs?
Yeah,
Really?
they're not very good.
Were they airlifting food and stuff for you guys? or-
Yeah, you would go to like, there would be like stores and stuff like that, and they would all be open just so that they can give out people food and water, and sometimes people would go in and sleep in those if they didn't have room in their car, because usually the cars were jam-packed of their stuff because they were worried. But
What was the MRE? Do you remember what kind you had? or?
I know there was one that where like you would put this chemical in it and you'd shake it up and it would heat it up automatically.
Jeez.
It was
That
cool.
can't be good for you.
Yeah, no, no, definitely not.
Yeah,
Their
interesting.
graham crackers are disgusting. Don't eat them.
Yeah.
They taste like cardboard. But yeah, during Hurricane Ike, they made sure that they made it to where you can only leave in sections. So we got all the way to Austin, which is about 6 or 4 hours away.
That's a pretty good
somewhere
drive.
there. Yeah.
Well, see, in Colorado, we don't have that kind of stuff.
I
so I guess it's
know.
just surprising to us because, like we had like a 3.5 earthquake a few years ago, and like
It's
we'll
nothing.
get
Didn't do
big
anything.
hailstorms and stuff and like crazy storms, but we don't exactly encounter that stuff because in the mountains we don't really get tornadoes. Like you can
Yeah.
get them in Denver and stuff, but they're more like up there. So
Yeah.
I guess we don't experience that kind of stuff. So this is just pretty interesting. Like.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have anything to relate that to.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
the earthquake people freaked out about, but it was so tiny.
Yeah.
I remember we moved from California to Michigan, and as soon as we moved to Michigan, there was this giant snowstorm, and we were like moving our stuff in, and like, oh wait, we can't. So then we like ran inside, and then we got like packed in, and we couldn't like do anything for like 3 days straight.
Oh my goodness.
So we were in our house with nothing for like 3 days.
He's just in this empty house.
Yeah. And it was like huge, so there was
Sitting
just
playing
like
card
like
games.
nothing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, no.
That's just
I have
crazy.
family that lives in Kansas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they have tornadoes, but they also get like super high winds, which aren't related to tornadoes.
Mhm.
And weird stuff happens. I actually heard of recently one of the farmers' grain silos, right? The old concrete brick kind of cement block concrete silos that go up. One of them got knocked over from the high wind. It just completely took one out. And they're circular. I mean, they're not like, they're not square. They're meant to try to get rid of that wind, but it just completely flattened the whole thing.
Wow.
It's crazy.
And then some of it was like, it would pick a shed up, spin it, and drop it down again. And it was like, it wasn't blown over. It was like collapsed inwards.
Yeah.
The wind is weird there, and it's not. It's like it's not a tornado.
Well, yeah, I've never experienced like a natural disaster like that, like in the situation, but I do believe my dad said when he lived in Ohio, or it was somewhere where he used to live. All I remember is that, but he drove across this one bridge, and right when he drove across it, there was a really hard earthquake that collapsed the bridge completely. But he had luckily just made it across right before it collapsed.
Jeez.
And
That's the kind of stuff out of like 2012.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like a movie
but, like-
action shots.
Falling.
But they, like he got a shirt when that happened. It was like, I survived the something earthquake. But like, it's like if my dad didn't make it across that bridge, like, you know, that's just weird to think about. Cause like I've never experienced anything like that. Knock on wood. But like, it's crazy because like in Colorado, like, yeah, we'll have big snowstorms, but like even after huge snowstorms, they won't shut down our schools. Like it doesn't happen.
We had,
Whereas
how many snow days did we have last year? I didn't think we had.
we didn't have
We
any
didn't
snow
have
days
any
last
snow
year.
days.
Oh,
But,
no.
And
like-
it snowed a couple of times pretty.
We get snow
pretty
days down in
nicely.
Texas just because we'll have a little bit of ice. We don't get snow.
Yeah,
We get a little bit of
exactly. I remember
ice,
that.
and everyone's like, no, we can't leave.
Yeah,
Like,
that-
Are you driving
everyone
to
will
school,
die.
Alex?
Huh?
Is it okay if I asked? Are you driving to school? Like, do you drive? Or?
No, I don't drive yet.
okay.
But
Yeah,
I'm terrified
'cause-
to start driving here.
Yeah, it's just gonna it gets worse. Than
Well, yeah, Colorado
Yeah.
just kind of throws things at you, not natural disaster-wise, but it's like the weather is so unpredictable here
Mhm.
that it's like, oh, it's so nice and sunny out, and then like 5 minutes later, you see clouds, but it's still sunny, and it's like pouring rain. You're like, where'd that come from?
I remember that.
I've had it rain on me when it was sunny once.
Yeah.
There were like
I
some
had that
clouds in
too.
the distance, and I was like, it's raining.
Yeah.
I was like walking my dogs, and it was like, wow, this is such a great day. And it started raining, and I look up, there's like this one patch of cloud that's above me. I was like, really?
Yeah. It's so unpredictable. So that's why it's like when you hear these stories about hurricanes, it's like my family's been in plenty of this stuff because they're from like California, Mexico, my dad's from Ohio, Hawaii, like they're from everywhere where these things happen. But then I'm like smack dab in the middle of Colorado, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't see any of this stuff. I
Yeah.
hear about it. Like when we had, I forgot what year this was, but I think I was still in middle school. My aunt was living in Hawaii, and it was when Haiti got destroyed and all that stuff. Why can't I think of the name of it right now?
Well, there was an earthquake. In
It was
Haiti.
an earthquake, and then there was also a hurricane that was expected to hit Hawaii. And this was when my aunt first graduated, and she went to HPU in Hawaii,
Mhm.
and we were freaking out because like, oh my God, she's gonna be in this huge like tsunami, and like we're like, this isn't good. And then it turns out like 5 feet of water like went over, and like that was it. Like,
Yeah.
but like it was when everything was happening in Haiti at the time too.
Right.
And so it's like I hear all these crazy stories, and then like you're like, we don't see
Yeah.
that kind of stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. You can go.
I was just gonna say, in Texas we have a bunch of floodgates. I lived by like a bay that opened out into the Gulf, and in the bay, at the entrance of it, we had a giant gate that would regulate how much water was in there,
Huh.
and then there was a little island called Galveston where the beach was that everybody went to, and they had the seawall. So it was this giant like 20-foot wall that the hurricane like completely smashed over.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was crazy watching them like on the news and stuff, seeing them stand by that wall and the water's up to that. Like thinking about it is insane because usually it would be a good like 50 feet out, the beach would, and then so for it to be like at the wall was just insane. But I've been through a tornado technically too. I lived in Arkansas for a few months, and I'd only been there for a few months, and we heard that there was going to be a storm, that there were going to be tornado warnings and stuff like that. So we were at my house, and we didn't have cable yet. We hadn't set all that up. So we weren't able to watch the news. And so I was on the phone with my friend, and she was telling me everything that the news was saying. And we lived in the middle of the woods on this little dirt road. Like, it took an hour to get to school.
Oh wow.
Gee.
And so we had this tiny dirt road that only a few houses lived on. And then we lived at the end of it on the top of this hill. And then my friend was like, what was the name of your road? And I told her, I don't remember what it was now. But I told her, and she was like, they just said that on the news. I'm like, I live on a dirt road. They shouldn't be saying that on the news. She was like, yeah, the tornado's passing over your road in just a minute. And so we were freaking out, and it was hailing like golf ball size out there.
That's
And
so
it was
happiness.
like the wind was going so fast, like it was knocking me over because I tried to go out and get my dogs, but I couldn't bring them inside. I couldn't get to their cages where they were, so I had to
Oh
leave
my
them outside.
gosh.
I was terrified, but the wind was so strong I thought I was gonna fall over. Like it was pushing me,
Holy
and
cow.
so yeah, that was terrifying. And then we had at that school, it was just a bunch of trailers. It was a very small school. Like my grade was the biggest, and there were 53 kids in the grade, and it was from kindergarten to 12th, and I think there were only about 300 in the whole school. But
Smaller than us.
yeah.
Well,
So
especially
I've been
because
doing
it's K through 12. That's really small.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the elementary classes were pretty big, but then I was in 7th grade at that time, and we had the biggest grade. There were 53 kids. I remember we had to all test in the same room, and I counted them, and I was like, wow. But yeah, it was scary. And then we got a few tornado warnings at school, so all of us would have to run out of the trailers into the community center that was right next door.
Yeah.
But
just looking at the time, sorry. I think in elementary school and middle school, they like briefly told us that I think you probably know by now, there's a reservoir, Rudai Reservoir, right above the salt. It's, how many miles back do you think it is?
I think it's like 30 miles back or something. It takes me
Something like
about
that.
35 to 40 minutes to get there, and that's about the time it takes me to get to Glenwood. So I think it's roughly 30 miles back.
Yeah, it's pretty far back there. But in elementary school, they always they didn't really like train us on how to get to high ground. They were just like, oh yeah, if the dam breaks, we'll tell you, and you have 2 minutes. I was like,
Yeah.
my goodness.
every time I was like, I don't think I could run that far in 2 minutes.
So there's like a dam that's
It's an earthen dam. It's not like concrete.
yeah.
Well, yeah, like we don't, like I said, we don't have natural disasters, but we have animal problems here. Like we have like
Bears.
mountain lions and bears. My
Bears.
brother actually got chased by a bear last night. He
Oh
was
my
walking up
gosh.
to my mom's house, and there's this hill that goes up to my mom's house, and then there's another hill, and then like right in between that, there's a car that's parked right there. My brother's walking up this hill right here to my mom's house, and suddenly he like looks over at this car, and he sees these glowing eyes, and he's like, maybe it's just a dog. This bear stands up like fully erect and everything, and my little brother's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And so like he like casually started jogging back to my dad's house thinking like the bear wouldn't notice, but then the bear started chasing after him, so he screamed and he took off running.
Oh, that is the
And he
last
ran-
thing.
Yeah.
He
Is
ran
it-
up onto my porch and he was like banging on the door like, let me in. And so I unlocked the door, and in instinct I freaked out thinking the bear was gonna come into the house because I thought he was right behind my brother. So I unlocked the door and then I locked it again and slammed it on my brother. And I ran
Oh
into
my
the kitchen and I was like, this is so sketchy. And so my little brother comes inside and he's like bawling like, I just got chased by a bear. I saw this huge black figure going "Putum, putum," behind me, you know? And so I got all like, I was like freaking out. I was like, if my dog goes outside, she could die. I was like freaking out. My dad goes outside to go check, and he didn't see anything there. But like, we're like kind of questioning because my brother tends to push the truth, but at the same time, I wouldn't blame him, like, or I wouldn't not believe him because we have a bear problem. Like, we wake up almost every morning and all of our trash cans have been raided through. Like, it doesn't surprise me, but like, we don't have tornadoes, we don't have tsunamis, we have bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, isn't like the worst thing to run away from it, right? Or
If
what
you
are
can run
supposed to
uphill,
do?
you run uphill. Bears can't run uphill because their legs are so tiny. So if they like, run uphill, like they slow down.
You should.
We slowed down
can
too,
know.
though.
I think for black bears, it's I don't think it's try to make yourself look big.
What bear do you make it? Because I heard like from someone like, if you see a bear, then you have to make yourself look big and intimidating.
I'm pretty sure that is a.
That wouldn't work for
that's
me.
Shoot, I hear a lot of people spread misinformation about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But usually your best bet is to like look at it and back away.
Yeah, don't
You
run,
run away
or
from
scream.
it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like if you have a backpack on, you drop your backpack.
Because they'll go for
It
your
doesn't
back.
matter what's in it.
Okay.
Like if they destroy your backpack, it's
Yeah.
probably not worth it. But yeah, no, bears are interesting. I had
Yeah.
a story and I'm forgetting it now.
Well, I think we
was
only
it-
have a couple minutes left.
Yeah, we only really have a couple minutes.
But yeah, that's kind of great how we went from talking about school to bears.
That's
You know?
good.
Yeah.
We need that conversation tracker we were talking about last year. So we had this idea. We were like, we should go through the podcast and just go through every single transition and map out like how we got from schools to bears.
That would be great.
Well, we talked about school, and then Alex talked about her life in Texas, and then she talked about how her house got destroyed, and then
Yeah.
the natural disasters came into
Natural
play, and then we were
disasters.
talking about how in Colorado we don't have that, but we have animals.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah, no.
That makes sense.
Oh, I remember the story I was gonna tell. I was at our Boy Scout summer camp up in Dotsero. It's almost directly north of here, about above I-70. But it's I was walking back to the cabins at night because I stayed and talked to some friends, and I was walking back up, like I was alone, which is never the best idea. I'm like walking up there with my headlamp on, and there's 2 fields that cows graze on, or not cows, horses and a donkey, and you go through one field, and then there's like a fence that you squeeze through to go up to the rest. And so I almost get to the second fence, and I kind of look, and I kind of hear like sounds, look around a little bit, and I like turn left, and I just see these 2 green eyes, and I was like, that could be a horse, definitely could be a horse, probably not a horse. and then so I'm like, okay, maybe I can just skirt by it. And then I look right, and there's one like that. I look over, and I see 1 green and then 2 green, like it's looking at me, and I'm like, I'm gonna go back. So I walked back down and got a ride up to the top. But
Oh my goodness.
it was a pack of them. There was 1, and then there was probably 2.
Oh
my
my
gosh.
goodness.
And there's still a good chance that they were horses. I wasn't gonna risk it. Because horses have their eyes
Little
To
to the
boys.
side.
Yeah.
But these ones were like
There,
There.
front and center.
So it
Oh
was-
geez.
Yeah, I remember one night when we were living up on a horse ranch last year. We were getting out of the car, and we were with my half grandma. It's my grandma, and we got out of the car, right? And then we were walking back, and then we just heard something like scurry, and then we heard the horse like do its neigh thing,
Oh jeez.
and then we were like, and then we just bolted and we ran inside.
Yeah. Animals are pretty good indicators of
Well, yeah.
other animals.
Well, they can also indicate if there's going to be a storm. Like, I remember
Yeah.
we used to learn about stuff like
Yeah.
that, where, like, if, like the animals in Yellowstone, when they can sense earthquakes going on, they'll start to migrate away from it because they
Yeah.
know what's going to happen.
I've had my dog. My dog loves. My dog barks and whines a lot, but he'll come up to the door and start like shaking against it,
Yeah.
and like he doesn't bark. He starts like whimpering,
Oh, jeez.
and it's like, oh, it's gonna rain, so we let him in. I heard this story. We read something about it in like probably like 6th or 7th grade, but this dog, and I'm gonna tell it wrong, but this dog, there was gonna be an earthquake. An earthquake was like about to happen, and this dog's owner was getting something out of the fridge, and the dog like pushed the owner out of the way, and then the earthquake happened and the fridge fell over.
Oh,
my
right to
gosh.
where the guy was standing.
I think
And
I
so the
remember
dog was
that.
like, the dog just must have felt it before it was actually happening.
I feel that's so
It's-
crazy. Like,
There are a bunch of examples like that like not just dogs but animals like
in general.
sensing something.
Yeah.
It's like that's so crazy to me how like animals can do that. Like
And it's probably not even intentional. They just probably feel it and they're like, oh, this is bad.
Well, that was an
But-
interesting topic change, but I thought that was a pretty good conversation.
Yeah. So
We have about 2 minutes left.
we're about there. So I think we're just gonna stop it here. It was nice talking to you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you for your
Definitely see-
background.
Yeah, definitely.
For enlightening
Hurricanes
us
are
in a
Yeah.
way.
interesting topic that we don't really get to talk about here, but that's
Yeah.
cool. So we'll see you guys later. Make sure to like and subscribe. Yeah.
Jesus.